Hello, welcome back to the channel. I hope everything's been all right with you all. Today we're talking about sand farming. 1.4.5 has been released, and suddenly sand is quite a precious commodity. You know, we had this patch, the ale transmutation. So these mugs will just transmute back into ale, which you know I think is a good change because this was a little bit overpowered, um, and it means we get to utilize some interesting sand farming techniques. Um, I do love glass and building stuff out of glass, and so the change is a bit bittersweet, but hopefully today I will have shown a proper way of getting sand in mass quantities. This farm is actually kind of relevant, even surprise for me, making something that could be actually useful because SkyBlock has been released. And people need lots of sand for the desert biomes and glass for potions and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to show a good way of getting this. In Skyblock, the meta at the minute is to shimmer potions or do the sand piles or obsidian, which is obsidian the extractinator, which is it's fine, um, but it's quite slow. It's quite tedious. And today we're going to be looking at antlion sand farms and how to make them as efficient as possible. I'll be doing like a very kind of cheap farm that can be made in a skyblock world, and then a more complicated farm which is just to see how far we can push this antlion mechanic. But yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, this is the basic farm setup. Very simple, not very complicated. Um, but yeah, what you do is you basically sit here, um, wait for a antlion to spawn. This could take maybe a minute. Doesn't take very long. And of course, antlions shoot sand um, at quite a slow rate. Um, anything else that spawns on here will jump off pretty quickly and despawn, freeing up the area. And now we have an antlion. You obviously won't have access to the drone to see what's going on, so you can just run back and forwards every once in a while to check if one of these guys has spawned. So what you want to do is then um, you know go over, throw a gold coin at this guy, um, and that will save him. You can see he's glowing. This of course only works in expert mode and above. Um, but yeah, once you have your antlion, they'll start shooting, and yeah, the sand will fall down onto the torch, and you'll get a slow and steady supply of sand, which that's fine. It they fire every 3.33 seconds, which corresponds to a rate of like 0.3 sand per second or 1,000 per hour, which is if you want to be here for forever, make this and only that. But that's where this teleporter setup comes in. We go into here. You can see we're teleporting rapidly from here to here. And you can see this guy is saved, popping in and out of existence. But if we jump out, we can see that we got a lot of sand. So let's check that again. Essentially, what's happening is the antlion is being rapidly respawned every couple of ticks. And when they're respawned, they forget their cooldown timer and immediately fire at you. which increases your rates by around 50 times. And yeah, I think it's a very cool and easy design um, that you can make pretty easily post Skeletron in your SkyBlock worlds. Um, if you want to see a tutorial for this, skip to this part of the video. It's pretty simple to make. Um, but yeah, I wanted to see kind of how far we can push this antlion mechanic. However, so let's look at a little bit more complicated design and try and boost those rates by something crazy. So yeah, this is the more complicated design. It utilizes some interesting mechanics of the antlion spawning in. We got this dummy engine here that we need to turn on first. Dummy engines were actually nerfed hugely in the last update. So when you're far away from a dummy ghost, they despawn and return to their initial position, which means we have to make it a little bit more of a complicated setup to get the tick engine we want. And then we use similar coin saving mechanic over here. This big loop of coins, it's a bit of a mess. This is definitely very much in kind of like a prototype phase. But basically what we want to do is we want to separate the antlions away from all the other types of enemies quite efficiently, which is quite difficult to do. But antlions are strange. Turn this on as well. They are not able to be teleported whilst they're burrowing. So you can see this. They're being teleported to here, and then everything else is being teleported away over to some far off teleporters over there. And then you can teleport the antlions over here. They fall into the coins, and then they are teleported far away into our sand farming area. Yeah, antlions are kind of tricky to teleport sometimes. They often get stuck. So this is very much in kind of like a first prototype phase. You sometimes need to press this manually or get rid of them manually. But yeah, essentially we want to be waiting here until we get around, well, as many antlions as we can be bothered to get. 80, 90, 110-ish antlions over in our area over here. You can see them saved here with the coin save mechanic. So yeah, I'll see you when we have about enough to make a good farm. So I've been sat here for about 5 minutes collecting these guys with my scuffed farm setup. These guys are very difficult to maneuver and teleport. They sometimes just don't like doing it, as you can see there. The guy was supposed to teleport. But I think we should have enough. Let's turn off the spawn rate so we don't have to worry about anything. Let's head over here. We got 122 of these guys. But yeah, essentially, if you stand here, we can turn on this hopper, which I'm loving, by the way. They'll just throw sand at you for as long as you like, and obviously this is pretty good. 0.3 times 122 is 36 sand a second, and that's 130,000 sand per hour. And this is kind of how sand farms sat for quite some time. This was the only way to get effective rates. But if we use the same technique as the last farm, with the despawning and respawning, we can hugely increase this farm's yield. So there's 1,000 now already. But if we go here, and then there's one of these teleporters buttons that rapidly fires us back and forth. we can see we're getting a load, um, which is fantastic. Um, that effectively changes the rates and increases them to about 50 times. So that's about 6.5 million sand per hour, which is pretty good. How much is that per second? 1,800 per second. So if we go back to our chest, we can turn that off. Can have a look in here. I've already got a stack and a bit, which is very, very cool. This technique, I think, is really only applicable to antlions. I was thinking for making, snow farms with the snowballer enemies in the Frost Legion. You could use a similar technique, but it doesn't look to be that feasible. But maybe that's something you all should have a go at. But yeah, I'm not going to release this farm design because it's still very much in a prototype phase. It's terrible. Um, but I just thought this mechanic was so cool and unique. Look at that sand drop, it's just quite satisfying. But yeah, I think we should just get into the tutorial for the simple farm design now. Um, so yeah, for this very simple design, all you're going to need is a few things. Um, you're going to need a couple pressure plates, some platforms, 2 teleporters, a bunch of wire, some building blocks, some sand, and some treacherous sandstone wool. If you're not using shimmer or haven't found the shimmer, whatever, you can make the regular sandstone wool and then corrupt it with some vile or vicious powder, and that will turn it into its treacherous variant. A chest, a 1 second timer, some rope to get around, a torch, and just a different block to mark out where you're going to be spawning the enemies. But yeah, what you're gonna want to do is, if you're in a SkyBlock world, go into the cabin layer, um, and then you can mark out your spawn block with just a different type of block, so you know what it is. You can even use some wires to mark it so you don't lose it if you're using all the same kinds of blocks, whatever. Then you're going to want to go 64 blocks out. And it'd be nice if I had a builder's potion. And this is going to be where your first sand block is. You're going to want to place a sandstone wall behind it and one above. And yeah, then you're going to want to delete these and then make a 6-block gap. That's about 6 blocks. Yes, then you're going to want to put your torch down here, and then make this 13 blocks long, including that one. And then you're going to want to put your chest down here, which is here. Then a 1 second timer. Just hook that up like that. Pretty easy. Then you're going to want to build out like this. A block there. Place your teleporter. Place 2 blocks here and here. Hammer those so they're in the hoik position like that. Replace these with any sort of platform, and then put any kind of pressure plate on the left one here. Then you're going to want to hook that pressure plate up with any kind of wire. and we'll be sending that somewhere else. And then with this wire, we're going to be wanting to go down probably around 100, 150 blocks, up to you. You can put this anywhere. Um, you'll know if it's not working, and if you need to put it further away, having exact measurements is not really that useful. And similarly with the other one, we're going to want to be doing the same thing, like so, replacing those with um, pressure plates, and you're going to be wanting to put this pressure plate on this block here. Uh, and that should teleport you back and forwards like this. You might also want to place a switch here, so you can easily teleport back if you get stuck. But that is essentially the farm built. It is pretty easy. You can place more spawning blocks here once you have more sand. I just wanted to make it as cheap on sand as possible, but with more spawning blocks, you're going to be able to get a higher number of enemies. You can also place some like rope here to get up to your location. Whatever, it doesn't really matter what you do here. Yeah, just like that. Operating the farm is pretty easy. You turn on the spawn rates. Well, you'll have spawn rates on. Just look for an enemy that kind of assists. You likely won't have the radar, so just run back and forwards every few moments. Check in, see if you have an antlion yet. It could take a little longer if you're not using like a drone or something, but it shouldn't take too long. The spawn rates on SkyBlock are amplified quite a bit. Let's hope that's one. But yeah, you can do this for a while. I'll just use the drone to speed up the video. And look, there we have one. They really don't take very long to spawn in, especially in pre-hard mode. Then you're going to want to break some blocks. However you want to do this, just be careful. Throw a gold coin at them. Hopefully you don't lose it. Replace your blocks here. Turn on this 1 second timer. Climb up to your spawn zone, however you want to do that. Oops. And it should be firing at you like this, and it shouldn't mess up anything. It should hit here, and then you can sit in the farm, and hopefully, if all goes to plan, you'll be getting a large amount of these sand blocks that you can do whatever you like with. But yeah, that should be about it. Exciting stuff. You can, of course, if you want higher rates, just wait for like 2, 3 of these guys to spawn. When you have more sand blocks coming in at that rate, you can expand this platform pretty quickly, pretty easily. And then you can, it's pretty easy to double or triple your rates by just getting 3 of these rather than just 1. But yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Hopefully this helps some people.